What's up guys, in today's video we're going to go over the Storm Werewolf Druid in Diablo 4. This build is by far one of the most fun builds I've played, but not only that, it is easily the best Druid build I have ever tried. It's got incredible survivability, so much damage reduction, it has incredible clear speed, and it is just so much fun. I can't wait to show you guys this build. I truly think this is probably one of the strongest Druid builds, truly, and I don't know if I can ever go back to any other build after trying it. If you guys like this video, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe for more. Let's get started. We're going to start with going through some of the different items, starting with the helm. So for the helm, you're going to need Tempest Roar. This is a unique helm. You can only get uniques from World Tier 3 onward. It's pretty rare, I would say, but after the bug fix so that druids no longer see other classes uniques, you should have a decently easier time than in the past in order to get this, but absolutely a must, because it's going to make it so that your storm skills have a chance to grant spirit. And this is huge because your storm skills hit so constantly. You know, tornado is just doing damage like every second, and you can throw multiple tornadoes out. It's going to give you absolutely incredible sustain. Your resources just going to be coming back so fast with this. It's just an absolute must. On top of this, this also makes your storm skills also werewolf skills, which allows for huge synergies in the skill tree, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. For the chest piece, I like to put Vigorous Aspect. Now, Vigorous Aspect makes it so that you get damage reduction when you're shapeshifted into a werewolf. And when your storm skills are also werewolf skills, anytime you use a storm skill, you're going to turn into a werewolf. And so this is going to give you basically just a 15% damage reduction anytime you're using abilities. So this is really, really strong. And you can see here some of the stats I chose. I re-rolled for more total armor. Armor is great because it does both physical and elemental resistances. This is really great. Physical damage bonus. Tornado does physical. Hurricane does physical. Those are your main damage dealing abilities. So you want to actually get more physical damage and then also damage while shapeshifted. This is actually just a really nice chest piece, I would say. Not to mention also control impaired duration reduction, even though that's rolled as low as it possibly can be. This build only has one way to get out of CC, and that's through Grizzly Rage, which we'll get to. For the gloves, we put Mighty Storm. The Earth and Might key passive also applies to your storm skills. Earth and Might, in my opinion, is just the most powerful ultimate skill you could possibly go for the druid. It gives you a chance to get all of your resource back and get guaranteed critical hits. It's just so good. And because your storm skills are just hitting so consistently, Hurricane, Tornado, you're getting way more procs than any Earth build I've seen. And so you're getting your resource back all the time. It's extremely powerful. Very good. You can see some of the stats I have on here. It's actually quite good. You know, get your resource back, storm skill cooldown reduction, and then look at that amazing critical strike damage with werewolf skills. It's really good because during Earth and Might, you get guaranteed critical strikes. So you want more critical strike damage, right? And also the the heal on the chance to heal is really nice too. When you're crowd controlled, your stuff is still flying around, your hurricane's still on. You can actually get healed quite a bit while you're crowd controlled. So I actually really like that lucky hit on the gloves there. When it comes to the pants, we're going to do Aspect of Disobedience. You can see here you get 0.5% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 50%. 50% increased armor. This is so huge. This is like probably one of the best defensive aspects in the entire game. Hurricane does a lot of damage. Tornado does a lot of damage. You're going to basically have a constant 50% armor increase, which is huge for staying alive. Once again, this is like one of the highest damage reduction builds I've ever seen, quite frankly. And you might be wondering, why didn't we get Mad Wolf's Glee in the chest? Well, these aspects are just better, you know, rather have the 15% flat damage reduction and the 50% increased armor. It's just so strong. And then what's actually really fun here is Wind Strikers aspect. This gives you 14 or up to 16% move speed after you get a critical strike, which we'll be getting critical strikes guaranteed when we get an Earth and Might proc. And so once you get Earth and Might, you're basically going to get a constant move speed increase, which is really nice. I mean, you kill stuff so fast, you actually do want to have that increased move speed. Moving on to the weapon, critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by 20% for 5 seconds. That's accelerating aspect. This is really awesome because you want to attack faster, cast more tornadoes as fast as you can. So you're moving faster, attacking faster. This is just a really awesome aspect. And again, it's proccing with critical strikes, and you're going to get guaranteed critical strikes with Earth and Might. So it all kind of fits together great. And then on your offhand, your totem, you're going to have right here the aspect of retaliation. Your core skills deal up to 40% increased damage based on your amount of fortify. When we get to the skill tree, we're going to show you exactly how we get some of those fortify skill points, right? Probably think fortify, that's like an earth thing. Well, it can actually also be a storm thing as well. And you can see on here, I've got plus 20% fortify generation on there and 13.5% damage reduction while fortified. So there's a lot of fortify synergy in this offhand I've got right here. here. All right, moving on to the neck piece, we've got Direwolf's Amulet. This is an absolute must for the build. It says Grizzly Rage now shapeshifts you into a Dire Werewolf. As a Dire Werewolf, you gain 35% move speed instead of damage reduction and a 69% spirit cost reduction bonus. This is huge. In addition, your kills heal you for 10% of your maximum life. So this is really what makes the build even more tanky, right? You might be CC'd, stuff's dying around you, you get healed for 10% of your maximum life. Not only that, but you're getting move speed and you're getting a spirit cost reduction. This is why right when you use your ultimate, you can just go to town just spamming tornadoes, and you can probably cast them infinitely, which is so fun to finally just have a core skill you can spam endlessly. So really great right there. Storm Chasers aspect in the ring slot says tornado will seek up to 3 targets. Really nice to kind of mindlessly be able to just cast tornadoes and they'll go find something to hit, which is really nice. And then Circle of the Rampaging Werebeast. This is really important. It says here the duration of Grizzly Rage is increased by 4 seconds. In addition, critical strikes while Grizzly Rage is active increases your critical strike damage by 10% for the duration. This is why the combination with Earth and Might, the guaranteed critical strikes, is just absolute insanity. The synergy there, because every time you crit, it increases your critical strike damage, and you're going to get guaranteed crits when you get Earth and Might. And so in Earth and Might, while you're in your Rampaging Werebeast form, Grizzly Rage, you're just going to do so much damage. It's going to get crazy. And so really great synergies all around. And so those are the aspects I would go after in the gear. Remember, Tempest Roar really is a must. It's the one thing I was waiting on to finally unlock this build. Now, when it comes to Spirit Boons, let's talk about Deer. I love how there's 2 deers. They got to fix that. This is supposed to be a snake. We've got Wariness. It's just the best one. 10% damage reduction from elites. Elites are basically elites, champions, rares, but also it's bosses and world bosses. So 10% reduced damage. I will take that. Those are basically all of the deadliest things in the game. And so getting a 10% reduction from against them is great. And then when it comes to the Eagle, we want Avian Wrath, 30% increased critical strike damage. Because we get those guaranteed critical strikes from Earth and Might, we just want to make them stronger. And then we want Calamity. Extend the duration of ultimate skills by 25%. Because Grizzly Rage is just so good for this build, and by the way, it gets stronger the longer it lasts, Calamity has a lot of synergies, and that's what we want. And along that same line of logic, we actually also want to get Calm Before the Storm. Lucky Hit, nature magic skills have up to a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. This is going to help us maintain Grizzly Rage as much as we possibly can, because once again, it's our way to stay CC immune, and also, of course, all the synergies that make us so incredibly powerful while we're in Grizzly Rage. And then finally, we want Masochistic. Critical strikes with shape-shifting skills heal you for 3% maximum life. All of our storm skills are also going to be werewolf skills, and so tornado, hurricane, etc. Whenever we get those critical strikes, we're gonna get heals. And again, Earth and Might gives us guaranteed critical strikes, which means guaranteed heals. Awesome. Let's look at some of the skill tree. So we start out with Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, and I love Fierce Storm Strike to apply vulnerability. When it comes to the core skill, it's probably very predictable. We're gonna get 1 point in Heart of the Wild and 3 in 2 Wild Impulses. Core skills cost more, but deal more damage. Max out Tornado. We're gonna get Enhanced Tornado to have a chance to spawn an additional tornado, and then we're gonna have the Raging Tornado to give a chance to cause vulnerability, which is 20% increased damage to our target, which is so strong. Predatory Instinct, 6% chance to crit against close targets, so you do want to run up to people. And then Digitigrade Gate, this one's always fun. You gain 9% movement speed while in werewolf form, giving you some extra mobility. Coming over to the defensive part of the tree, we want a 5 out of 5 Cyclone Armor. This is just so strong. 13.7% non-physical damage reduction is massive. And then we're going to also get Enhanced Cyclone Armor, which will slow targets when you push them away. And then Preserving Cyclone Armor, giving you 30% extra damage reduction for 2 seconds every 10 seconds, which is pretty nice. An extra 30% damage reduction. We're also going to get Blood Howl, and then we're going to get Enhanced Blood Howl and Preserving. This is going to increase your attack speed by 15%. Depending on your clear speed, which should be very high, you should be able to constantly have this 15% attack speed. It's absolutely amazing. And I mean, honestly, you don't need the heal. It's really all about getting that 15% attack speed, which is so strong. We're going to pick up some defensive stuff here. Ancestral Fortitude increases your non-physical resistances by 5%. That's really just a prereq to unlock Vigilance. You gain 15% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using a defensive skill. skill. This is really nice because we have 2 defensive skills here, and basically because Blood Howl is basically always coming off cooldown, you almost have an automatic, or I would say almost always on 15% damage reduction. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Blood Howl comes off cooldown way before Vigilance comes off, and so you get really a permanent 15% DR, which is really strong. Nothing in the companion tree. In the Wrath tree, we're going to pick up some nature passives, or I should say storm passives. 3 out of 3 elemental exposure. Your storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. Very good. Endless Tempest. Increase the duration of Hurricane and Cataclysm by 15%. Very strong. Of course, we want Hurricane to last longer so that we can keep that uptime as much as possible, because this is going to be generating hits to increase our armor, right? Every time we deal damage, we get 0.5% increased armor. We want that lasting as long as possible. There is downtime where Hurricane is on cooldown and we don't have it, and this sort of shortens that gap between when we don't have it up. So it makes our Hurricane last longer. We're also going to get Enhanced Hurricane to make it so enemies who are damaged by Hurricane get slowed, but then this is really good. Check this out. Enemies affected by Hurricane deal 20% less damage. There's so much damage reduction in this build. It is wild. Just awesome. And then we're going to put 1 point into Turn Neurotoxin. Poison enemies are slowed, but even more importantly, 3 points into Envenom. Poison enemies take 30% additional critical strike damage. And so, right here, Toxic Claws, critical strikes with werewolf skills, deal 8% of their base damage as poisoning damage over 4 seconds. You get guaranteed critical strikes with Earth and Might. They're going to get poisoned. Once they're poisoned, they'll take even additional critical strike damage. So really fun synergy there between Toxic Claws and Envenom. So just 1 point in Toxic Claws just to get that poisoning going so that you can do 30% more critical strike damage to them. Moving over to the ultimate part of the tree, we got Defiance. Nature magic skills deal 12% increased damage to elites. This is really great just because, again, elites are going to be the monsters that you encounter that have the most HP. Then over here, we've got 3 out of 3 in defensive posture, increases the amount of fortify you gain from all sources by 15%. Very nice. And then 5% chance when struck to fortify you, 4% base life. So a little bit of survivability, getting that fortify when you get hit. We're also going to get Grizzly Rage, of course. We were talking about this. You become unstoppable, a dire werebear, right? But we change it to make it a dire werewolf, right? And then right here it says you're unstoppable while Grizzly Rage is active, and then gain 8% base life as fortify per second while Grizzly Rage is active. So it helps you build up that fortify even further. Very, very awesome. It says here, damage bonus is increased by 3% each second while in this form. This is so strong. You want to make this form last as long as possible. Kills extend the duration by 1 second up to 5 additional seconds. So of course you want to use this when there's a lot of enemies around you, or an elite, a boss, etc. Then my favorite, Earth and Might. Damaging enemies with Earth skills has a 5% chance to restore all your spirit, cause your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. Very, very strong. We talked about how we're making this also proc from Storm skills, which is really, really great. Now when it comes to the Paragon board, very similar to what I was running with the Pulverized Werebear. I actually didn't change much, so we're still gonna go both ways here. We're gonna get Territorial instead of Exploit right away. I think they both have similar requirements here, but Territorial is the glyph we're going for here. This is going to give you 10% damage reduction against close enemies and increased damage to close enemies. So again, you do want to sort of run up to enemies and hit them, right? Throw tornadoes in their face. You're going to move up to the Lust for Carnage board, which says critical strikes with werewolf skills restore 2 spirit. Really strong to keep that sustain. Right here we get the werewolf glyph. You gain 10% damage reduction while in werewolf form. Very good. And then 25.3% increased damage while in werewolf form, which we're going to be in all the time. So this is really strong. And then we're going to branch off into 2 different directions. First one's going to go north, and then we're going to get this one right here, Earth and Sky. Increased storm skill damage. Nature skills deal 10% increased damage to crowd controlled or vulnerable enemies. We're going to be slowing stuff. We're going to be making enemies vulnerable. This will be happening all the time. So Earth and Sky is perfect. And we're going to also, that's from the Thunderstruck board. Storm skills deal 30% increased critical strike damage against vulnerable or immobilized enemies. Super strong. We're also going to get Tempest, which gives you 30% increased critical strike damage and 10% vulnerable damage. All of this is just so strong. As we move over to the left, we're going to get the Constricting Tendrils board, not for the actual legendary node, but because this glyph is just so close, we can throw Exploit into it. And so this is as far as I've gotten. We still have to get like these dexterity nodes to activate it, but I'm only level 82, so the build is not complete yet, but this is definitely an extremely powerful build so far. And over here in this board, we are going to probably go get Heightened Malice. They're definitely going to be enemies around that are going to be poisoned. We absolutely are going to want to get that 45% increase increased damage. There's still some things we have to unlock with this build. We're only level 82, but this is the build so far. Now guys, if you like this video, do me a favor, click that like button, helps me out a bunch, and subscribe if you want more Diablo 4 content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.